like 80 degrees. The quadriceps, 4 fingers. That's normal, and in her case, she easily touches. Too much on the knee?
No.
So in her case, she easily touches. She does not have tight quadriceps. Stand, come up to standing for a moment. And if you look at someone's body from the side, cross the arms over the chest, well, yes, there's a little bit of forward tilt, but that is normal to have a little bit, and there is a curvature in the back, but that's relatively normal. Yeah?
I thought I had a lot. It feels a bit a lot.
You're supposed to have some. It's supposed to be forwards up, so that's, okay. Who else? Yeah. You can just place the hands together and rest your chin on your hands. Okay. So, now, observing the pelvis, and you tell me, is it going tail up or tail under?
Tail up.
Tail is moving up as the pelvis is rotating into anterior tilt. And so pressing on the quadriceps, and I get to here, and tell me when you feel it like compression in the back. Yeah? Do you get compression in your back in back bending? Does it pinch in the back in back bending?
I used to, but not anymore.
Okay, yeah, because it's not extreme, but she tightens up about here. She can get to here, but then it becomes quite tight. And so you actually have maybe just slightly tight quadriceps, not incredibly tight, but stretching out the quadriceps could potentially change the posture a little bit. Come up to standing. And so this is a larger curvature in the back with a slightly more, so if I rotate the pelvis forwards, it encourages that lordosis. We go backwards, tuck the tail under and flatten out the lower back. Yep. And potentially too much, so just exaggerate, tail up and arch the back, leads to compression of which joints? The facet joints. And people who have jobs that are standing up a lot and kind of collapsing into the back, and we develop chronic pain because of compression in the facet joints. Yeah? And one thing as a yoga therapist you might do is assess the length of the quadriceps, and if they are tight, then stretching them is going to allow a little more freedom for the pelvis to not be pulled so far forwards.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm quite curved, but I'm flexible in my
Quadriceps.
yes, but I'm feeling very tense in my hamstrings. So how?
Anterior tilt.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
I'm
Okay, come on up. You have to introduce another muscle. Okay, so stand sideways first. So yeah, that's definitely anterior tilt. And her spine is quite long, but it goes a long way forwards at the base. You can't really see that. And so her spine would have like L4, L5, and then from there up it's quite, so you don't have the hyperlordosis, but you do have the anterior tilt. Lay on your tummy for a moment. And definitely not tight in the quadriceps. So then there's another muscle that we look for, and this is a muscle that attaches on the front of the spine and wraps around the pubic bone to the leg here, and it's called the iliopsoas, and that would be the next muscle that we'd look at. And to test the length of the iliopsoas, we do this. Sit on the heels, you tuck under with the hips, and then you see if you can comfortably lay down. And let's take a bit of support in case that's not the case. Okay, take your hands behind you.
here under here.
First the hands back, and then lift up and tuck under, and then come down to the elbows. And are you comfortable with that? It's okay?
Yeah. Yes.
And you can bring the knees together. She doesn't have tight iliopsoas. And you can come up. We can take one of these away and bring this back to here.
Does it have the same?
And absolutely, she does not have tight iliopsoas, which is great because it's teaching us that just because one muscle group is tight does not explain everything, right? And it's not only tight quadriceps or tight psoas that produce anterior pelvic tilt. So I would say that you just have a genetic body shape that tends to have a forward carriage of the spine. Do you get pain in your back?
A bit. Yeah, when I'm standing, I feel like I have a compression here.
Okay. Yeah. So let's just workshop that then. So she does suffer as a result of posture, and her posture is compressing the back. Do we need to stretch the quadriceps or the psoas to change her posture because they're so tight? No, because we tested them and they're not so tight. So what could we do to help with the posture if it's not stretching a tight muscle?
Strengthen the core.
Potentially, absolutely. You mean the abdominal muscles? Yep. Absolutely. So, do we want to encourage muscles that are going to extend the spine or flex the spine?
Flex.
Flex. And the major muscles that flex the spine are abdominal muscles. Yeah. So that would be quite important. And what about moving the pelvis from the tail up a little bit to a tail under position? Well, that is also abdomen. The abdominal muscles attached to the pubic bone, and they pull the pubic bone up, like so. And on the back of the legs, the hamstrings pull it down, and the gluteal muscles pull it down. So we want to strengthen the glutes or strengthen the abdomen. Shall we see which muscle group might be weak? Up. And it's going to be neither because she has a genetic thing. So lay down on your stomach. Bend your knees and lift the knees off the ground. Can you hold this for 1 minute? Keep your head down. And she's not weak in the gluteals. You can see by looking at her body that she has muscle tone in the glutes. She has muscle development and muscle tone. And it is functional enough. Still, this exercise would be a great thing to do. And 3 minutes would be a B+, and 5 minutes would be an A. And 1 minute is a C. Okay, good. And then relax. So she's not weak though, right? But that might be part of the solution. Yeah. And then turn over.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
It's good to make sure it's the butt that's working, not the hamstrings.
Well, yeah, actually, turn back over again. So we want to strengthen both. Yeah. So bend the knees and lift the knees up and let the knees come apart.
Can I have something?
Oh, yes, yes. Absolutely. Okay, so she's now contracting mostly in the gluteals, but when she straightens the legs and holds a straight leg up, she's contracting the hamstrings. And so you want to do a variety, that's why I teach those 2 positions in the sequence: bent knee, straight leg, hamstring, glute. Important postural muscles. Yeah. Okay, but she's not weak on the back of the body. Is she weak in the abdomen? Turn over onto your back. Lay on your back, take the fingers behind the ears, lift the head and bring the elbows forwards, and keep the weight, keep the compression on the lower back, like so. Good. And then we're going to, let's see, inhale the legs out and exhale the knees to the chest. Good, do about 10 of those. Inhale out and exhale back. And she would have been collapsing by now if she was really weak. Yeah, she would be doing 10 of these. So she's not weak in the abdomen either. Yeah. And there's various other abdominal muscle tests. Anyway, it might be good to strengthen the glutes and strengthen the abdomen, but I'm still not able to provide her with, the miracle cure. And it's usually like that because things are multifactorial. It's wonderful as a therapist when we can, when it's like, oh, tight psoas, all we need is to stretch out the psoas, and makes us feel, like geniuses as therapists when you do come across one thing and people are super impressed and send all of their friends to you and you can't fix anyone else, you just got like one. And some therapists focus on the one size fits all thing, and most therapists only have 5 to 10 different outcomes for everyone. If you want to be a good therapist, you need to actually test everything that needs to be tested and make a wise choice out of that information. And so probably the best thing, do you have to stand up a lot? Do you work standing up?
No.
Okay. Do you get back pain? Do you sit and work?
Yes.
Yeah. And do you get back pain when you're seated and working?
Yeah, this.
Yeah. Okay, so we probably want to look like occupational health and safety issues. When you're standing, bend the knees a little bit and allow, so you can try that. When you're standing, try to avoid locking into the back. Bend the knees a little bit and allow the tail to drop under. Yep. And then you'll feel that you're standing using your postural muscles when you do that. And then sitting, you'd want to avoid leaning too far forwards and
This standing advice would apply for everyone who's standing, or
it applies for everyone who has anterior tilt, hyperlordosis, and suffers from compression of the facet joints or sacroiliac joints. But people who have disc compression should actually lift up, and this is disc compression, this is disc compression, and they would need to lift up, but they can't. Why can't they lift up? Because of tight hamstrings. No. And again, not everyone with disc compression has tight hamstrings. So their anatomy is a gigantic subject, and there are a few, common patterns, but there's always other possibilities.
Kind of asked this before, but with someone who cannot sit without rolling back, should one just do, for example, we did, I have forgotten the name of this one today. Yes.
Yeah.
Should I just skip it for someone like me?
Yeah, exactly. So if the pelvis does not get up with the sacrum to a 90-degree angle or more forwards, and we talked about this already, then don't do seated forward bends because it's just a waste of time. And don't pull on a rope because you just flex your spine more. Yeah? But we need to stretch the hamstrings. Lay on the back and stretch the hamstrings. Or stand up, straighten the legs and stretch the hamstrings. You don't stretch the hamstrings when you bend the knees.
I do.
Unless,
why would it be better to...
Sorry, let me just say it again then. When you bend the knees, you will feel a stretch near the tendons at the back of the knee or maybe on the sitting bone. But we want to get more the feeling in the middle. Do you feel it in the middle of the muscle? You do? Okay. So, exactly. There is always in biology exceptions to rules. And it might have to do with the internal and external rotation, the adduction and the abduction, etc., etc., etc. But to get to get a deeper stretch of the hamstrings, straightening the leg would make a big difference. I think it's lunchtime now. I didn't hear a bell.
It was a bell.
They did?
Yeah, there was a bell.
Sorry, I didn't